right, everybody. Hey, how you doing? This is Sherman Ray, and I'm the publisher of the Black Success Magazine. And this is the Black Success Magazine podcast. We've been doing a few more of these already this week, more than I probably thought I was going to do. But some things came up, and I really wanted to make sure I got a hold of you before we let any more time go by. This episode, you guys, we are going to talk about something that is probably near and probably one of the most controversial things that we're going to address during our time here at the magazine. But it's something we just have to do it. You know, one of the things that I've found over the years, over my many decades of being alive, is that we are affected by the culture. And I even say this in my preaching, too, because many of you know I'm a preacher, too. I'm a pastor of a church. That we are affected by a culture that, and to a large degree, we are allowing the culture to influence us instead of us influencing the culture. Now, I want to say this, too. We influence the culture in many ways. You know, the way we speak, the way we dress, our music, you know, that kind of stuff too. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this, that we affect the culture because because people see us, and just because we are very creative people. And yet, we are so affected by the culture that are we moving forward as a people as much as we can, because we are being affected by the culture so much. And the reason why I say that is because we could move so much further. If you look at any of the numbers and you look at any of the demographics, the African American or Black American subsect of people in America are by and large on the low end of the totem pole. That's behind Jews, that's behind Japanese or Asian people, that's behind even Hispanics. I mean, it's just, and it's just an amazing, it's not a little bit, you guys, it's a lot. It's not, not just, hey, we're just, behind people just a little bit. We're behind a lot. And that irritates me. The reason why is because we're such an influential people. We influence every segment of society. I mean, people want to be like us so much, it's ridiculous. So why do we lag behind? Well, that's what this show is about today. It's really about the use of the N-word, and many of you already know what it is. I'm not even going to say it. The use of the N-word historically and how it is being used today. Okay? Many of you who are of my age, you're over 60 years of age, and I'm just a little over 60, but I'm over 60. Remember back in the 60s and the 70s, during the civil rights marches and moving forward, and even before that, the use of the N-word was something you would never use, ever. You would never use it. Black folks definitely would never use it because it was such an offensive term. But nowadays, you see these young African Americans, or I should just call them Black Americans, who use the N-word like it's just, hey, and this and that. It's just like them saying yes or no. And so that to me, and how does that affect us? How does that affect us as a people? Because you ask people, and I work with kids all the time, and I ask the kids, I say, well, what is this? What is the N-word? What is your understanding of it? Oh, it's a black person. And I'm going, oh, really? So that's what you, and so you call each other, and is it and so another question I asked them, I said, is this a positive or a negative term? And they, by and large, say, oh, it's a negative term, and yet they call each other it all day long. So not only do blacks call blacks or use the N-word all the time, but Hispanics use it, Asians use it, everybody uses it in this category of kids. And we're talking about kids as young as, these the kids I work with are generally from the ages of 11 years of age on up. And they know what it means. So I'm on a one-man crusade, you guys. And I hope that you will join me on this to outlaw and to eradicate the use of the N-word in American modern society. Because, why? You say why? Well, because it has a negative connotation. It's a racist term. I'm going to give you, well, we won't do this yet. We're gonna actually use, we'll talk a little bit about the NAACP's official stance on the use of the N-word and what we see and how we see the use of the N-word used in modern day society now. If you go to rap music, rap music is probably the biggest offender of using the N-word, by and large. It's almost shameful. It is shameful. It is unforgivable. It is not as though these folks do not understand what this term is. They just think that it is just culturally cool, when it is not culturally cool. It's like going around telling Mexicans that you're a bunch of wetbacks. Hey, you're a bunch of beaners. Okay? Or are you telling a bunch of white people you're a bunch of honkies? Hey, honky, honky this, honky that. Okay? But if you went around telling women that they were a bunch of bees all day long, they would get so upset at you that they may never talk to you. And yet, we as a people stand by as other people use the term the N-word, but we use it ourselves. And we denigrate ourselves and we talk down to ourselves all day long. And then we wonder why we cannot move forward in the culture. Why can't we move forward? It's because we're speaking about ourselves as though we're dogs. We're speaking about ourselves as though we're less than humans. We speak about ourselves as though we're less than the greatest people on this planet. You cannot move forward, you guys. You cannot be successful when you use a word and you denigrate yourself to the point where young boys, young girls are just going around calling, hey, you this, or they. Sometimes I wish I would use the terminology, guys. I won't use it. I'm not going to stoop to that level to begin to use it, the things that I hear. As I said, I work with kids all the time. And I stop them when I hear this term. And I pull them off to the side and I say, young brother, let me tell you something. And I explain to them what I'm going to explain to you in just a second here, folks. I explain to them why this term is so offensive and why they should never use it. And by and large, most of the kids accept it. Every once in a while, you'll get this one kid that just doesn't get it yet. And he seems to think that I'm just trying to tell him what to do, as opposed to an older black male speaking life into a younger black mind. He looks at it, and some people are listening to this. You'll do the same thing. So I'm not gonna get down on that little guy, and I'm not gonna get down on you. You just don't get it yet. But if you want people to expect the best out of you, if you want the best out of yourself, please listen to this. Listen to this broadcast today in the spirit in which it is meant. I'm an older guy trying to speak life into a younger generation, trying to let you know, guess what? You can do more. But you've got to start loving yourself first. And you're not loving yourself by using the N-word in any context. Whether it's at a hard N or a hard R, whatever they want. Now they're trying to make it sound like, oh, it's not the same thing because it's not the hard R. Okay? It's not the hard A or whatever. Okay? Using a derogatory, racist term in whatever, iteration that you might say is still racism. It is still looking down upon us. And if we as a people want to move up, we've got to stop this. So you might think to yourself, well, Sherman, you're just some guy, one guy, who puts out a magazine, and who do you think you are? So you may not be taking my word for it. So let me back this up a little bit. And you can find this on the NAACP. Some of you really look at the NAACP as your go-to organization. Go on their website or just Google this, NAACP's official position on the use of the N-word. Okay, just Google that in. The NAACP's official position on the use of the N-word. Okay, I'm going to read this to you, and it's a little long, but I think it's not that long, but I'll read it to you. Whereas the Merriam-Webster's dictionary refers to nigga, the N-word, as usually offensive, a black person, member of a socially disadvantaged class of persons, and whereas the N-word has been established to be derogatory, degrading, dehumanizing, and is one of the most offensive words in history. Whereas the N-word is too often freely and casually used by some individuals in popular media, literature, and general society, with usage broadened across racial and generational backgrounds. We're talking about people just using it as in their songs. Hey, in their songs. Hey, talking about young kids, old kids. Whereas the stigma of this word embodies and invokes painful memories and inhumane ill will, countless individuals, including NAACP freedom fighters, have lost their lives due to the beliefs perpetuated by the use of this word. Okay? So I'm going to stop in right now. They've just given you a history of this right now. People are using it. The dictionary shows that this word speaks about people who are disadvantaged, a class of person. Okay? And it does say they are black folks. Okay? And it says this, it's a derogatory, degrading, dehumanizing, and is one of the most offensive words in history. Okay, I got to say this again. It's one of the most offensive words in history. Here's what gets me, and I will continue on here. But if you and I work for, I work with kids a lot. And I work in the school district a lot. And when you talk to some of the administrators about the use of the N-word, they don't get it. Why? Well, because they're not black. that's pretty obvious. They're not black, and they're not talking to them. This word does not apply to them. They're white folks. It doesn't apply to them. They're Mexicans. It doesn't apply to them. They're Jewish. It doesn't apply to them. They're Italian. It doesn't apply to them. They're not saying it to them. This word is not being said to them. It's not conjuring up thoughts and images of people who are whipped and chained, or who are torn away from their families. It doesn't apply to them. They have no historical reference point. But we as black folks, we do. That's why they don't get it. They don't get it. And our young men and women have no historical basis. Now, it's funny. They will go around thinking, I want reparations. I want reparations. Why would you ever want reparations to something you don't have a historical frame of reference to go by? All you're being is you're being played by society that says, hey, you deserve something, or you don't know anything about this. You never were a part of this. And that's why it's so easy for you, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying those people who use the N-word flippantly. It just rolls off their tongue. I know you see I'm passionate about this. And it's because that's how offensive this word is. Right now, in our society, we've got this gender-neutral thing going on, where everybody thinks that they're a girl or a boy or a rabbit or whatever they think they are. And you can actually go to jail for not using the right pronoun. I'm a he, I'm a she, I'm a they, I'm a them, I'm an X, I'm a Y, I'm a Z. Okay. You can be fired for not using the right pronoun. And yet, society stands for the use of the N-word every day. On TV, in music, on radio, in TV shows, on basketball courts, everywhere. In my day, you guys, when I was much younger, if you were using the N-word, it would be followed by a fist fight. That's all there is to it. That's how offensive it was, and that's how we stop these things. I'm not calling for fistfights, guys. I think we're beyond that now, okay? I think we can be rational people and we can talk about this. But I am saying this. We need to start having a historical frame of reference here. I keep saying that same word, frame of reference. This word was used for slaves, and even after slavery, during the Reformation, all the way through the 50s and the 60s, if you were a black American in America on any street, white folks would say, to put you in your place, hey, Nick, hey, you just that's all they would do. Okay, that's just the way it was. Okay, and black folks would go, I guess I'm not a human. I'm a N. It is the most offensive word in history. And yet we run around, throwing around. Let's continue on, and we'll come back to this again. Whereas the stigma of this word embodies and invokes painful memories and inhuman ill will, countless individuals, including NAACP freedom fighters, have lost their lives due to the beliefs perpetuated by the use of this word. So there was a belief system behind this word. There was a belief system that said, guess what? I'm better than you. So you're an N, and I'm better than you. And matter of fact, I think I'm going to slap you. I think I'm going to lynch you. I think I'm going to take whatever you got. I think I'm going to be inhumane to you and treat you like you don't even matter. That's what this word evokes. And in people my age, guess what? We're letting you guys know that, guys, if we want to stop this wheel, this cycle of mentality, we've got to stop this now. Let's go on. This is what the NAACP, some of you, if you're just joining us right now, the NAACP put out a position paper. This was in 2014 that they put this out. This was 10 years ago that they put this out. A position paper. It said their official position on this is this. Therefore, be it resolved that the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People shall not condone, award, or engage any person that uses the N-word in any capacity, or in any artistic endeavor, whatever, that does not allude to the historical context of the word, or that does not highlight the prejudicial nature of the word. And be it finally resolved that the NAACP implement the following actions to reinforce its ban on the use of the N-word: bolster education, awareness about the offensiveness of the word across racial and generational lines. Make the ban a top civil rights priority for all units, and urge every youth unit in consultation with their corresponding adult branch develop a plan of action for implementation. Well, the plan must include internal branch affirmation, public awareness, community outreach, and a reporting process. In places where no active youth unit exists, the adult unit would be held to the same said requirements. Okay, what does all that mean? It is officially on the NAACP. This was as of 2014 that they said, we're not putting up with this. We don't want to be involved with you. We don't want to. We will not. This is unacceptable. And we will do whatever we can to make it a priority, that this is a civil rights priority. I believe it. I stand by this. I wholeheartedly believe that America had enough. We have politicians going around there saying, oh, there's racism here. And yet this has continued, and it continues, and it continues. And until we as Americans stop and we say to ourselves, hey, we're going to end this. we're going to continue to have this problem, and it's just ridiculous. I shouldn't have to say anything about this, but I do, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows my position on this also. So, as a publisher of Black Success Magazine, we stand with the NAACP on this and say the use of the N-word should not be tolerated. Not in our homes, not in our public squares, not on our TV, or not in our media, not in our culture, not in our music, not in our artistic endeavors. It should not stand. And we should shun those people who use it. So all you rap guys, I'm telling you right now, you guys, I know this is your form of artistic expression. We should shun you if you cannot respect our women, respect our culture, respect our people, respect our future. Do not use these words anymore. Do not. If you see people on the street and they're using it, I encourage you as moms and dads, as young men, go up to a brother and say, please, brother, let me explain something to you. When you say things like this, you are hurting us. You're hurting us as a people. If you want to be a part of us, if you consider yourself a part of the black culture, then please don't do this. Please don't do this. This has been Sherman Ray for the Black Success Podcast, you guys. I hope that you got something out of this. I really do. This is very rare, once again, that we would ever actually just go, this headlong into this. But we really felt like this was just so important that we got to be a part of this. Okay. So, anyways, we will talk to you again. Maybe we'll try to do something a little later. Maybe next week. Okay. This has been Sherman Ray for the Black Success Magazine Podcast. We'll talk to you later.